Hello, my name's Jack Walsh, and I'd like to tell my quilt story for the known and unknown quilt exhibition. This story is about the Circus Quilt, which was created by Anne Kingsbury. It is 5 feet wide and 12 feet long. It's made out of leather and ceramics. It has 376 handcrafted ceramic figures made of low-fire glazed clay, and it weighs 75 pounds. I first became aware of this quilt when I was visiting Anne and her husband, Carl Garton, in Milwaukee back around the turn of the century, about the year 2000. And we were looking at some of Anne's smaller quilts in their house, and Carl said to her, Anne, why don't you show Jack the big one? And she said, but you'll have to get it, Carl, because it's too heavy to carry. And so he went up and got the circus quilt and brought it downstairs. As I say, it weighs 75 pounds. We looked at it, and I said to Anne and Carl, if you ever decide that you want to sell this, I would love to have a chance to buy it for my collection. Well, a couple of years later, in 2002, I got a call from Anne, and she said she had decided to sell the quilt, and I decided to buy it, and she and Carl wanted to make sure it got to me safely, so they drove from Milwaukee to my home in New Jersey and stayed with me for a while. And I'll tell you a little bit about the details on this. The one image you see of the high wire act of the three ring circus has two girls there as part of the act. And Anne told me that she included those two girls because when she made the quilt, next door to her lived two small girls who were screaming all the time. And so she put them into the quilt to give them something to scream about. And the lion tamer in the ring with the lion tamer's head can be rotated in or out of the lion tamer's mouth. And when Anne was making the quilt, the cats were very interested in that, and the lion tamer's head disappeared for a few days, and then it came back again. Around the outside is the audience, and that's over 350 individually handmade ceramic plaques that are laced into the quilt itself. When Anne and Carl brought the quilt to me, they stayed overnight, and we had a chance for a nice visit. And Carl is a published poet. Anne and Carl are two of the three founders of the Woodland Pattern Book Center in Milwaukee. And Carl read some of his poems to me. And the one that I was taken most with was Anne's quilt, was a poem about Anne's quilting, which I would like to share with you as the conclusion of what I'm about to say. The poem is entitled Anne. Anne is quilting inch by inch. Nothing happening, the same way the piece got built. One stitch at a time, in time to anything in the room. One stitch after another. Her philosophy, the quilt grows that way. Simply grows, ends all one. Another piece looked forward to. She looked in the museum, excited most by what incites the most work in her simple woodwork-like stitches. The same with gestation. Day to day, no change, but time works. Time works wonders. Looks back, but can't believe how fast we got there. One stitch hangs on the wall, the ideal locked fast and looked forward to. She's looking to the next piece eagerly, busily looking everywhere. But one stitch. It will happen. In a real hurry, never apparently. Let's watch TV. Read to me. Well, not fast. Just read one word. Let it follow and lead to another. never backwards, always one stitch, next two. Things happen one beat at a time, the way music's made. Going forward, no choice until you remember you've been somewhere, and maybe you're just getting there. Just move along, stop. Time-lapse photography. The stars move in the sky, one frame at a time. The moon sets, the stars move. Maybe? Yes, positively. The earth moves in the sky. See the shadows move? Just mark them. The quilt can't happen if leaps must be made longer than a small stitch. It happens anyway. Just draw and plan it and so on. The discipline, not looking so far ahead as to let the idea, the amount of work, get her down. Just each stitch for itself and where it leads to. The thought informs only a stitch, which informs the image itself. The thought informs only a stitch, which informs the image itself. Itself repetition, repetition itself, undoing repetition, making a life by minutes. The wonder of it so large a piece. The idea making a stitch well being essential to the very essential well-being her stitch.